Medusa explained. The cursed monster who was secretly a hero. This is the story history has chosen to remember. A simple tale of a beautiful priestess punished for her vanity. A monster vanquished by a hero. But history is a fickle storyteller, often simplifying tragedy into cautionary tales. What if the curse was not a punishment, but a sacrifice? What if the monster was not a beast, but a guardian? Today, we journey beyond the accepted myth, into the shadows of Athena's temple, to uncover a story of unwavering devotion, a terrible secret, and a choice that damned a woman in order to save the world. This is not the story of a monster. This is the story of a soldier who became a fortress, a priestess who became a weapon, and a hero who was, in truth, a fool. Welcome to Mythos Unveiled. Today, we seek to explain Medusa, not as the monster she became, but as the hero she had always been. Before the serpents, before the stone gaze, before the name that would be whispered in terror for centuries, there was simply a girl. Her name was Medusa, and she was, by all accounts, the most beautiful of her mortal sisters. But her beauty was not her defining feature. It was her devotion. From her earliest years, Medusa felt a pull not towards the world of men, not towards marriage or mortal ambition, but towards the divine. And the deity who captured her heart and soul was Pallas Athena, the goddess of wisdom, of strategy, of civilization, and of righteous warfare. Medusa saw in Athena everything she aspired to be: wise, strong, and incorruptible. She dedicated her life to the goddess, becoming a priestess in one of Athena's most revered temples in the city of Athens. She took a sacred vow of celibacy, forsaking all worldly pleasures to serve her patron deity. Her life was one of quiet prayer, of tending to the sacred flame, of offering counsel to those who sought the goddess's wisdom. She was beloved by the people for her piety and admired for a beauty that seemed almost divine in its perfection. Her hair, in particular, was said to be her crowning glory, a cascade of radiant silk that rivaled the golden light of the sun. But her devotion was what truly set her apart. It was absolute, unwavering. She did not serve Athena out of fear or a desire for favor. She served her out of a love so pure, so profound, that she considered herself not a servant, but a living extension of the goddess's will on earth. The Lost Hymns to Athena, a collection of fragmented texts discovered near the Parthenon, contain a passage believed to be written by Medusa herself. My eyes see only your light. My hands serve only your sacred house. My life is but a single, willing thread in the tapestry of your wisdom. Let me be your shield, your vessel, your humblest sentinel. In this golden age of her life, she was at peace. The temple was her world, and her goddess was her sun. The whispers of mortal men who coveted her beauty were meaningless to her. The political machinations of the city outside her temple walls were a distant noise. Her focus was singular, her faith a fortress. But fortresses are built for a reason. They are built to protect something precious within. And within the deepest, most sacred sanctum of Athena's temple, a place forbidden to all but the highest priestess, lay a secret so dangerous, so ancient, that its revelation could unravel the very order the gods had fought so hard to create. Medusa did not yet know what this secret was, but she could feel its presence, a low, constant hum of power that emanated from the temple's heart. She knew her duty was not just to the goddess, but to the protection of that unspoken, unseen thing, and she would have given her life to defend it. She had no idea that soon she would be asked to give so much more. The world of the gods is one of cosmic power, but it is also one of cosmic arrogance and unrestrained desire. And no god embodied this dangerous combination more than the Lord of the Seas, Poseidon. The Earthshaker, brother of Zeus, was a being of tempestuous moods and insatiable appetites. He saw what he wanted and he took it. His gaze, one day, fell upon the temple of his niece, Athena, and within it he saw Medusa. He did not see her piety. He did not see her devotion. He saw only her beauty, a prize to be claimed, a conquest to be made. Her vow of celibacy, her dedication to his rival, Athena, did not deter him. In fact, it spurred him on. To possess her would not just be an act of lust. It would be an act of dominance, a way to defile the sacred space of the goddess he so often clashed with. He came to her not as a suitor, but as a storm. He appeared within the hallowed halls of the temple, his divine presence a violation in itself, a shockwave of masculine arrogance in a place of feminine wisdom. He offered her the treasures of the sea, the rule of underwater kingdoms, the love of a god. Medusa refused. Her heart, her soul, her very being belonged to Athena. She stood before the mighty god of the sea, a mortal woman armed with nothing but her faith, and she did not waver. "This is a sacred place," she declared, her voice steady despite the terror that gripped her. "And I am a sworn priestess. I belong to the goddess Athena. Leave this place." Her defiance only inflamed Poseidon's desire. He was a god unaccustomed to the word no. He saw her refusal not as an act of piety, but as a challenge. And so, he took what he believed was his by divine right. In the sacred heart of Athena's own temple, before the statue of the virgin goddess herself, Poseidon assaulted Medusa. It was an act of sacrilege so profound, so utterly blasphemous, that the very stones of the temple seemed to cry out in silent agony. The sacred flame flickered and died. The air grew cold. When it was over, Medusa lay broken on the marble floor, her spirit shattered, her sacred vows violated. The sanctity of her life and of the temple she served had been destroyed. And in that moment of ultimate desecration, she was no longer alone. A presence filled the chamber, a cold, clear, and terrible power that was not the salty brine of Poseidon, but the sharp, unforgiving ozone of divine intellect and fury. Athena had arrived. She did not appear in a flash of light. She was simply there, her gray eyes burning with a cold fire that was far more terrifying than any storm. She saw the scene. She saw her defiled temple. She saw her broken priestess. And she saw the lingering, arrogant essence of her uncle, Poseidon, fading from the air. The story we are told is that what happened next was an act of punishment. A goddess's wrath turned upon the victim instead of the perpetrator. But that is the shallowest reading of a divine, strategic mind. Athena stood in the ruins of her sanctuary, not just a physical ruin, but a spiritual one. The violation had done more than just harm her priestess. It had fundamentally weakened the sacred wards that protected the temple, and more importantly, the great secret hidden within its heart. What was the secret? The texts are fragmented, the whispers contradictory. Some say it was an artifact from the Titanomachy, a weapon of such devastating power that if it fell into the wrong hands, it could challenge Olympus itself. Others speak of a sealed gateway, a rift to a realm of ancient, chaotic beings that the gods had locked away at the dawn of time. Still others hint at a heart of creation, an object that could be used to unmake reality. The Athenian Apocrypha, a text condemned as heresy by the Olympian priesthood, suggests Athena did not guard a weapon, but a weakness, a truth about the gods' own creation, a key to their undoing, which she alone had the wisdom to protect from her own kind. Whatever it was, its sanctity was now compromised. Poseidon, in his lust and arrogance, had torn a hole in the temple's spiritual defenses. Now others would be drawn to it. Ambitious gods, curious demigods, Monstrous beings all would sense the disturbance, the hint of immense power now accessible. The temple was no longer a fortress. It was a beacon for the greedy and the powerful. Athena, the goddess of strategy, saw all this in an instant. She could not punish Poseidon directly. To start a war with the Lord of the Seas would be to plunge the world into a cataclysm that would surely shatter the temple and expose the secret completely. It was a strategically untenable move. Her hands were tied. So, she turned her gaze to Medusa, who was weeping on the floor. And in that moment, the goddess of wisdom did not see a victim to be pitied. She saw a solution. She saw her most devoted soldier. She saw a will of iron, a faith that had not broken even when her body had. She knelt beside Medusa. Her voice was not soft with comfort, but sharp and clear as forged steel. "He has defiled this sacred place," Athena began. "He has weakened the wards. The secret we guard is now in peril. Others will come. They will seek what is hidden here, and I cannot be here always to defend it. The age of peace is ending. A new kind of guardian is needed." Medusa looked up, her eyes filled with confusion and despair. "My lady, what can I do? I am broken." "Your body is wounded," Athena corrected, her gray eyes intense. "But your spirit, your devotion, is the strongest I have ever known. You once swore to be my shield, my sentinel. I am now calling upon that vow. But the price of this duty is one no mortal has ever paid. It will cost you everything you are." Athena explained the terrible calculus. A normal guard could be bypassed. A magical ward could be broken. What was needed was a living deterrent. A guardian so terrifying that the mere thought of approaching the temple would turn the blood of heroes to ice. A guardian whose very presence was a weapon. A guardian who could never be tempted, never be reasoned with, never be swayed. A monster. "I can give you this power," Athena said, her voice dropping to a low, solemn whisper. "I can transform you. I can make you into the perfect protector. Your beauty, which drew this horror upon you, will become a mask of terror. Your glorious hair will become a nest of vipers, each one a living, venomous extension of your will. And your eyes, which have seen such violation, will now hold the power to inflict the ultimate silent judgment. All who look upon you with ill intent will be turned to stone. You will become a living fortress, Medusa, a Gorgon, but you will be alone, feared, hated, hunted. This is the sacrifice I ask of you, not as a punishment for what was done to you, but as the ultimate act of service for what we must protect." It was a choice, a monstrous, terrible, and heroic choice, to embrace a curse, to become a monster, to save the world from a danger it did not even know existed. Medusa did not hesitate. Her life as a woman was over. Her purity had been stolen. The world she knew was gone. But her devotion to her goddess, to her duty, remained. If her pain could be forged into a weapon, if her shattered self could be remade into a shield, then her suffering would have meaning. "I accept," she whispered, her voice no longer trembling, but filled with a cold, hard resolve. The transformation was an agony beyond mortal comprehension. It was not a flash of light, but a slow, horrifying unraveling and reweaving of her very being. She felt her beautiful hair writhe and twist, each strand thickening, growing scales, sprouting fangs, becoming a living, hissing serpent. The pain was excruciating, 1,000 venomous bites upon her scalp. Her skin, once soft and warm, grew cold, hard, and tinged with a deathly reptilian green. Her limbs elongated, her fingernails hardened into sharp talons. But the greatest change was within her eyes. She felt a cold, ancient power welling up from the very foundations of the temple, a power that Athena was now channeling into her. It was the power of the earth itself, the petrifying stasis of stone. It filled her gaze, turning her soft, sorrowful eyes into burning, merciless orbs. The world, seen through them, now looked fragile, temporary, and easily broken. When it was over, she stood no longer Medusa the maiden, but Medusa the Gorgon. She looked at her reflection in a polished shield Athena held up for her. The face that stared back was a mask of terror, a visage that would launch 1,000 nightmares. And she did not weep. The part of her that could weep was gone. Your sisters, Steno and Euryale, they too are Gorgons, born of ancient sea deities, Athena explained. But they are wild things. You are different. You have a purpose. They will be drawn to you now. You will not be entirely alone. Go to the remote island of Sarpedon, at the edge of the world. Take the secret with you. The temple is no longer safe. Your island will become the new sanctuary. Your lair will become the new vault. And you, my brave Medusa, will be its eternal guardian. And so, Medusa and her two immortal Gorgon sisters, who recognized her now as one of their own kind, retreated to the edge of the world. They carried with them the great, unspoken secret of Athena. And there, in a dark, dank cave, surrounded by the silent, stony statues of those who had foolishly tried to trespass, Medusa began her lonely, eternal vigil. She had sacrificed her humanity to become a perfect, unwavering sentinel. She had become a monster to fulfill her duty as a hero. The world of men forgot the priestess Medusa. In her place, a new legend was born. A legend whispered by sailors who strayed too close to the shores of Sarpedon and glimpsed the terror that froze the blood in their veins. A tale told by terrified survivors of expeditions, the only ones to return from a party of heroes, babbling of a cave filled with statues that looked too real, and a hissing horror with death in its eyes. The story twisted and warped with each telling, as stories do. The truth of her sacrifice was lost, buried beneath layers of fear and monstrous exaggeration. She was no longer a guardian. She was a beast. She was no longer a victim. She was the perpetrator of a great evil. The story of Poseidon's crime was forgotten, and in its place, the story of Athena's unjust curse was born, a simpler, more palatable tale that cast the gods in a poor light but was less complicated than the truth. Medusa became a challenge, a prize, for a new generation of arrogant kings and glory-seeking heroes. She was the ultimate test of manhood. To slay the Gorgon Medusa, to bring back her terrible head, would be a feat that would grant a man immortal fame. They came in droves, warriors in bronze armor, princes with enchanted swords, demigods seeking to prove their lineage. They saw her as a monster to be slain, a trophy to be won. They did not see the guardian performing her sacred duty. They would land on the shores of her island, their hearts filled with courage and ambition. They would hack their way through the tangled, unnatural foliage. They would find the entrance to her cave, the air growing cold, the stench of fear and ozone thick in their throats. And they would see them, the statues, a gallery of frozen terror, a warrior with his sword raised, his face a mask of shocked disbelief, an archer with his bow drawn, his form forever captured in the moment before he could release his arrow. A king, clad in gold, his mouth open in a silent scream. These were not works of art. They were warnings. They were the failed attempts of those who came before. For a wise man, this would have been enough. He would have turned and fled. But these were not wise men. They were heroes, and heroism is often just another name for foolish pride. They would press on, deeper into the cave, their shields raised, their eyes averted. And then they would hear it, the hissing, a sound that seemed to come from everywhere at once, a dry, slithering sound that promised a venomous end. Medusa would emerge from the shadows. She did not hunt them. She did not chase them. She simply appeared, a silent, terrible sentinel barring the way to the deeper sanctum where the great secret was kept. She was giving them a choice: turn back or be judged. And one by one their courage would fail them. In the heat of the moment, in the face of such unnatural terror, they would forget the warnings. Their eyes would meet hers. For a single, eternal instant, they would see not a monster, but a profound, ancient sadness in those glowing orbs. And then, the cold would start in their feet, creeping up their legs, turning blood to slurry, flesh to grit, bone to granite. They would have just enough time to register their final, fatal mistake before they became another permanent, silent statue in Medusa's grim garden. Each statue was not a trophy for her, but a testament to her success as a guardian. Each one was a failure of the world of men, not of her. For years, Medusa fulfilled her duty flawlessly. She was the perfect guardian. No one had ever passed her. The secret remained safe, but the fates were weaving a new, golden thread onto their loom. A hero named Perseus, a son of Zeus, had been given an impossible task by a wicked king: to bring back the head of the Gorgon Medusa. Perseus was not like the others who had come before. He was not just brave, he was divinely favored. The gods of Olympus, for their own complex reasons, decided to aid him in his quest. But in their aid, they were committing a terrible, unwitting betrayal of their own strategic order. Hermes, the messenger god, gave him a pair of winged sandals to carry him across the world. Hades lent him his helm of darkness, allowing him to become invisible. And Athena, in the most profound and tragic act of irony, aided the man who was coming to kill her most loyal servant. She gave him a highly polished bronze shield, so bright it could be used as a mirror. Do not look at her directly, the goddess of wisdom instructed him. Look only at her reflection in the shield. That is the only way you will survive. Why would Athena do this? Why would she arm the man sent to destroy the very guardian she had created? The reasons are a matter of deep, speculative lore. Perhaps she believed the secret was no longer safe, even with Medusa, and needed to be moved. Perhaps she saw in the threads of fate that Perseus's success was inevitable, and chose to guide it to a less destructive conclusion. Or perhaps, in the cold calculus of the gods, the life of one devoted servant, however loyal, was a small price to pay for the political favor of her father Zeus and the glory of his new favorite son. The question of Pallas, a philosophical dialogue, posits: did Athena betray her servant? No. The goddess of strategy merely sacrificed a piece to protect her king. For Medusa was always a soldier, and soldiers are, by their nature, expendable. And so Perseus, armed with the gifts of the gods, flew to the edge of the world. He was not a hero on a righteous quest. He was a divinely sanctioned assassin, an unwitting fool sent to dismantle a security system he did not understand, to steal a treasure from a vault whose purpose was a mystery to him. He arrived at the island of Sarpedon. Using the helm of darkness, he became invisible. He floated silently past the gallery of stone warnings, his heart pounding in his chest. He heard the hissing. He saw his two Gorgon sisters, Steno and Euryale, sleeping. And then he saw her, Medusa. She was not the raging beast of the legends. She was asleep, her serpent hair coiled peacefully around her head, her monstrous face, in repose, looking almost sorrowful. For a moment, even Perseus hesitated. This was the terror that had haunted the dreams of men, but he had a quest to fulfill, an oath to keep. Looking only at her reflection in the polished shield, He raised the adamantine sickle given to him by Hermes. He saw the sleeping, reflected image of the creature, and he did not see a hero at rest. He saw only a monster, a prize. With a single, swift strike, he severed her head from her body. The moment Medusa died, two beings sprang forth from her severed neck, a final, miraculous testament to the life that had been stolen from her by Poseidon. The first was Chrysaor, a warrior wielding a golden sword. The second was Pegasus, the magnificent winged horse. They were her children, a son of a god, finally freed by her death. They burst forth and flew away, symbols of a life and legacy that could have been. Her Gorgon sisters awoke with a shriek of rage and grief, but Perseus, protected by his invisibility, escaped with his grim trophy. He placed the still-living head of Medusa into a special satchel, its petrifying power still potent even in death. Perseus returned to the world of men as the greatest hero of his age. He used Medusa's head as a weapon. He turned the sea monster Cetus to stone to save the princess Andromeda. He defeated his enemies, claimed a kingdom, and lived a life of glory. He was hailed as a savior, a champion of the gods. He never knew the truth. He never knew that the monster he had slain was a devoted priestess who had made an unbearable sacrifice. He never knew that with her death, he had left the great secret of Athena completely unguarded. He believed he had rid the world of a great evil, when in fact, he had simply broken the lock on a door and left it swinging open. What happened to the secret? The myths are silent on this point. Perhaps Athena, seeing her gambit through, descended and moved it to a new, even more secure location. Or perhaps, in the chaos that followed, it was lost or even stolen, setting in motion a new, even darker chapter of history that has been erased from our records. What is certain is that Perseus, the celebrated hero, was the unwitting pawn in a divine game far beyond his comprehension. His entire heroic journey was built upon the murder of a true, unsung hero. So we must look at Medusa anew. The story handed down to us is one of hubris and horror, of a woman punished and a monster slain. But when we unveil the myth, when we look into the shadows of the story, we find something else entirely. We find a tale of ultimate devotion, a story of a woman who, when faced with an unbearable violation, did not choose vengeance, but chose duty. She willingly sacrificed her identity, her beauty, her very humanity, to become a living shield for a cause greater than herself. Her monstrous form was not a curse from a petty goddess, but a uniform she chose to wear, a transformation she embraced to become the perfect sentinel. The statues that filled her lair were not trophies of her kills, but monuments to her success. Each one represented a failed attempt to breach her defenses, a testament to her unwavering vigilance. She was not a beast lurking in a cave. She was a soldier standing her post. And Perseus, the hero? He was a fool. A brave, lucky, and divinely aided fool, but a fool nonetheless. He did not slay a monster. He assassinated a guardian. He did not bring back a trophy. He brought back the head of a martyr and used her tragic power as his own weapon, never once understanding the true nature of the sacrifice she had made. The legacy of Medusa is a dual one. To the world, she remains a monster, her name a synonym for terror. But to those who dare to look deeper, to unveil the myth, she is perhaps one of the greatest, most tragic heroes in all of Greek mythology. A woman who became a monster to save the world, and was slain by the very people she was protecting. Some heroes are celebrated with statues of marble and songs of praise. Others are condemned to stand as statues of stone, their true stories buried beneath layers of fear. Thank you for joining us on this re-examination of a classic myth. If you believe there is more to the story than what we've been told, Show your support by liking this video, subscribing to Mythos Unveiled, and hitting the notification bell so you never miss another journey into the shadows of legend. Tell us in the comments, who do you think was the real monster in this story? Until next time, remember that the most terrifying monsters are sometimes the ones we create ourselves by refusing to see the hero within.